chips, let's get a closer look at the disaster du jour of Intel, which is sliding another 7% as the company launches its newest AI chip in Berlin. And the stock is coming off its best day in nearly 2 years. On news, the company is exploring strategic options with bankers, but we're talking about a 60% drop in the shares since January, on pace for their worst year on record. They're down nearly 70% since Pat Gelsinger became CEO 3.5 years ago, hovering near their lowest level since 2010. And we wonder whether today's announcement will mark a meaningful turning point in the company's efforts. Let's bring in Seema Modi with a closer look at that. Seema?
Well, Kelly, Intel revealing in the last hour its newest Window PC chip, Lunar Lake. Presenting this product was Intel senior executive Jim Johnson, who says his team has really overhauled the entire architecture, its design, its construction. Intel says its newest product is faster than its previous generation by 30%, Meteor Lake, and faster than its competitors, AMD and Qualcomm, that have competing products on the market. Now, Microsoft executive also joined Intel on stage, sharing that Copilot Plus, its built-in AI assistant, will feature Intel's newest core processor. The first Copilot Plus used Qualcomm processors. Intel's newest PC chip will also be featured in more than 80 new laptop designs across 20 manufacturers worldwide. The next gen Ultra processor does come amid a flurry of restructuring talks that you were highlighting, Kelly. And I reported last Friday that Intel executives are working around the clock to come up with these restructuring options to present at this month's board meeting. Reuters separately reporting that selling Altera, which it bought for $16 billion back in 2015, is one option on the table. We're looking at shares down about 7% today, but it did gain about 12% last week, Kelly.
So that gain, as you said, was on the idea that they might be exploring their options. What would those options be?
Looks like there are a couple different options that the company is exploring. One is selling certain parts of their business, whether it's Altera, that acquisition they made back in 2015. They took Mobileye public last year as well, Kelly, so there's an opportunity to sell down some of its stake. And then there's the whole question around its foundry business, this whole idea of building domestic chips here in the U.S. They have 5 plants that are in development, but as you know, it's capital intensive, very expensive. And so there's been some talk about whether CEO Pat Gelsinger would look at selling that business, although that would be slightly controversial given that that has been a big part of his whole strategy overall to turn around Intel.
Here we have the current stock market update for Intel Corporation, stock ticker INTC. Before we begin, if you find these educational materials to be helpful in your trading, please remember to click the like and subscribe buttons and leave your thoughts below in the comment section so that other traders will be able to find this information more easily on the platform. So as we can see here, this is definitely a down day. The reason that the chart is so red is because we're actually going to be pulling out a bit here. We're looking at a short-term time frame at the moment. I just wanted to sort of emphasize, sort of the near-term price movement here, given the fact that, we are starting to see some downward price movement. But we are going to look at these price zones within the broader context so that we can get a sense of exactly where share prices are trading and where they're likely to start moving next. So as we can see here, share prices did find some support right around this 1915 area. This would have essentially been the price low that was posted during the August 28 trading session. From there, we did see a fairly significant rally to the top side. This was a fairly substantial price movement, almost exclusively in the upward direction. And then in addition to that, we also saw some share price gapping activity that occurred there as well. This is actually a fairly substantial price gap here in the upward direction. So essentially, this would have started at just under $20.20, and then it would have extended to just above the $21 mark. So that is a fairly significant price gap that we're seeing here. And what we have to remember is that when you see price gaps like this, ultimately, much more often than not, those price gaps have to be refilled once again. And that's going to be especially true with a stock like Intel, which is heavily traded, very, very, large company, popular company. There's a lot of buy and sell orders that would be parked in this area here. And we can't just simply jump over those price zones without seeing those orders filled at some point. So now that we have seen share prices move back into that area, it's not totally surprising here to see this price gap that's currently being filled. If this were to continue, currently we're looking at share prices right around $20.35, and then the price gap ends right around this 2020 mark, $20.20. So we've almost filled in this entire price gap. In addition to that, what I think that people need to understand is that share prices have also been affected by this major decline that's currently being seen with NVIDIA. NVIDIA has seen a major sell-off today, and if we're being honest here, it's a sell-off that's largely irrational. The company did have a very strong earnings report, did actually beat market expectations, initiated a $50 billion buyback program, and that's even before the prior buyback program was even finished. I think there was still $7 billion in that program that was still remaining. So, it was a very strong earnings report. Triple-digit growth in revenue and earnings. I mean, it was a very substantial positive report, and yet we're still seeing negative movement. The stock fell below 110 today. I did just finish a video on that stock. I suggest that people take a look there because I think that this stock is currently affecting the entire market and definitely the technology space. So it's the type of event that you can't really ignore because the NVIDIA earnings were positive, and the stock is seeing major sell off at the moment. Currently, obviously something is currently going on. So to expect other stocks in the technology sector to be immune to that type of activity is a bit too much to ask, especially when you're dealing with a price gap with Intel that had posted previously and now needs to be refilled. So the good news here would be that most of that activity has already occurred. Personally, my view here is that this movement to the downside has largely run its course. I don't expect to see a much more significant downside in NVIDIA either. So I do think that if we start to see a reversal in NVIDIA, even though it might seem unrelated, I do think that these two stocks are connected here a bit, and that a rising tide would lift all boats. If NVIDIA share prices start to move higher, I would expect downside in Intel to be limited as well. So from a technical perspective, what we're looking at here, roughly would be a movement into the $20 mark, just above the $20 mark. And I don't normally like to focus on round psychological numbers like this, but I am going to do that in this case for a few different reasons. One would be the fact that we have a point of historical support in this area. Previously, we saw price lows come in. Let's get an exact number here. Did we drop below 20? So $20.03 would have posted on August 29. So 3 cents away from that level. And then in addition to that, what you have here is the 78.6% Fibonacci retracement of the ascending move from roughly 1950 all the way to roughly 2215. So this is currently the dominant trending move here. And what you have at that level is the 786 retracement from that move, in addition to being an important psychological level. So as things currently stand, I do expect to see share prices find some support in that area. I don't expect to see share prices move much further below there. Some people are calling for, the mid-teens for this stock. I find that a bit hard to believe. I think that if we can start to see some upside trajectory momentum in the broader market and with stocks like NVIDIA, I think that the selling pressure for Intel should abate and slow down here relatively soon. So here's the current market update for Intel Corporation, stock ticker INTC. Our high value trading strategies membership is currently available for a limited time for only $9.99 per month. These high conviction investment strategies are characterized by superior risk to reward metrics that target massive market beating returns over time. Join now to outperform the market. Lock in this special introductory rate of just $9.99 per month for the entire lifetime of your membership and start trading stocks with the pros.